Hello, friends, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. It is wonderful to be with you here in the beautiful month of December. Whether you're joining me live or joining me on replay, thanks so much for being here. Let's get started.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. Happy December. I hope you had a beautiful holiday week last week. It is wonderful to join you here live once again. Welcome to the show. I'm Winnie, your host, an award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor. And yes, we are in fact here live on many different social media platforms. So definitely jump in, say hello, introduce yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's start, let you in on some good news. The market's doing very well today. The Dow is currently up 326 points. NASDAQ is also up about 230 plus points here. And the S&P 500 is still in the positive, up about 34 points as well. Now, overall, good news across the board, right? We're looking for more good news. A lot of companies are reporting earnings. Of course, also, it's the end of the year. So we're also looking to see an indication of companies, if they're making layoffs, if they're making changes. And if you didn't know already, like we're literally a few more weeks before the holiday season. So if you haven't done your holiday shopping just yet, do you know there are still some companies now celebrating like Cyber Monday and Travel Tuesday, and even though it's Wednesday, they're still kind of extending those deals. So if you need to buy something and it's necessary, you might be able to do that and get yourself a little bit of a better discount, and hopefully, of course, if you're doing online shopping, that the item arrives in time. And speaking of online shopping, Black Friday last week did in fact break records. Yes, well, in-store traffic continues to decline. This is reported by NPR, by Emma Bowman. People, I mean, many of us, we probably, we just enjoy online shopping. It's so convenient. I will say that personally, I do see the value of being in person, right? Especially if you're looking to purchase clothing, you want to get a sense of like if it's going to fit well, if it's a fabric, how does it feel, how does it hang, things like that. But there's certainly, we can agree, there's a lot of things that benefit from online shopping. And so Black Friday this year saw online shoppers spend a record 10.8 whopping billion dollars, which is a 10% increase from 2023. And to give you an idea just how big that is, that's more than double the amount that we spent in 2017. This is according to Adobe Analytics. So certainly people are spending and they're buying things online. But believe it or not, mobile devices now accounted for 69% of Black Friday purchases, even more so. So people like to purchase on the go, on their phone, over desktop, or on your laptop or anything like that. And AI shopping assistants have become very popular, and more consumers are saying that they're comfortable with mobile wallets and things such as like Apple Pay and Android Pay and anything else that you're using, right? And here's the thing, there's been a dramatic decline in store traffic. So we know that it's been some time where people have sort of navigated over to online shopping, but still stores were still popular. People like to get things last minute. They may want to try things on for size, but it's pretty dramatic. Foot traffic in brick and mortar stores has fallen by 8.2% just compared to last year. Now, this gives you even more drop. You would think it would be the opposite, especially since now we're 5 years into the pandemic, that more and more people have gone back to regular life. You would think actually it'd be an uptick, maybe an increase of 8% into back to stores, but that's actually not the case. So definitely people are going and shopping online, but if you are going to into the stores, they said there's definitely some discounts to be had. There's some pretty deep discounts, in fact, 40 or more percent, trying to lure shoppers back into physical locations. But of course, nonetheless, people are still buying lots of things online. And some of the top things that people continue to purchase are things like get this. I feel like this is a new thing because I don't remember this being at the top of the list last year. Skincare and healthcare, right? I know a lot of people out there buying Korean beauty products are really popular by a lot of women and men. TVs, clothing, gift cards, of course, always really popular. And by the way, if you do buy gift cards, make sure keep them safe. I just actually gifted a gift card to someone very important in my kids' life, one of their coaches, and she took it, went to Hawaii, used it at the 7-Eleven there. They said it didn't work. She went back into the car, went back to her hotel that night, checked it, and someone actually had used the card. So we're not sure exactly what happened, but we suspect, we kind of know, like someone must have taken a picture or something and just unfortunately cleared her card out. It's really sad. So if you have gift cards, keep them safe. Don't lose them. And of course, make sure that if you do have them, that if you bought them for yourself, make sure you utilize them too, because there are situations where they have lost value. And I actually have personally lost value in not only Toys R Us gift cards back in the day, as well as Soup Plantation, which is like a restaurant chain here on the West Coast. Well, used to be on the West Coast, now no longer exists. But yes, Monday expectations, of course, are expected to, believe it or not, even surpass Black Friday. They're making a 6% increase from 2023. And some of the big areas are looking for discounts on electronics and clothing, apparel. And this is expected to peak at like 30 to 23% respectively. But bigger discounts are to be had, of course, there where everybody is looking for bigger discounts, especially since we've been having higher inflation. But I also know this, there's been a lot of talk, you probably heard from our political leaders talking about more talk about tariffs and whatnot. So I actually did a quick survey on X, previously known as Twitter, asking like, have people been spending more? Are they going to be spending more because of the notion that tariffs are coming? And certainly from everyone that I saw respond, across the board, 100%, everybody said yes, they did feel like tariffs were coming, and that they did feel like they probably need to think about the most necessary things for next year and what they needed to purchase. And so they did feel like they would probably be spending more this holiday season versus a typical holiday season. So that's certainly going to play true for this year. And speaking of all things holiday, we know that this month is also a time where a lot of people are going to be traveling. We know a lot of people traveled over the Thanksgiving break, but during Christmas break to the New Year's and other holidays that are year end, a lot of people are going to decide to fly. And so there's some changes and some options, new options for you that I want to share with you. Now, this comes and it was shared by CNBC talking about Frontier Airlines. Now, I don't know if you've ever flown Frontier. I'll be honest, I haven't, but I know many friends that do. Well, Frontier Airlines has always been known as a very easy transportation method, but also very low cost. And as it's not what you would consider a luxury option. Well, that might change because now in 2025, September 2025, Frontier Airlines is going to be introducing first class seats because they didn't have first class seats. They only had economy seats. But now they're going to replace the first two rows of economy with Airbus and their Airbus planes with four first class seats and a 2x2 configuration. It doesn't sound like a lot of change, but maybe this will be just a thing to get more people to fly Frontier. I don't know. But the airline's revamping also their rewards program to offer complimentary seat upgrades. They're going to be introducing things like free companion tickets for their top tier members, and also the ability to redeem miles for not only seat upgrades but also baggage fees starting, they say, about mid 2025. So that's one change. I don't know if you've ever flown Frontier. Is this something that would cause you to fly them more often? Or do you think, oh, that's nice, but they don't really fly in the areas that I'm going? That's kind of where I'm headed. I like flying at some of the bigger airlines personally, just because if there's flight delays or there's cancellations or our travel plans change or unfortunately we miss our flight because of one reason or another, it just gives us more buffer. Like we have more options to jump on another flight or stuff like that. Especially in my case, it's usually I travel with a family of five, and so it's important that we have options. But nonetheless, those are some of the things that are happening there, and this sort of an industry trend toward more premium options. You're definitely seeing more premium options on airlines such as Delta, United, JetBlue. They're investing in larger, more luxurious seating, just a better overall flying experience, and giving more premium options, which we know then people pay more for, and therefore, it offers the airlines a different business model altogether. So to give you an idea of some of the competitors that Frontier has, such as Spirit and some of their other airlines, Spirit also offers this thing called a big front seat, which is, of course, is a little bit different as well. All right, but I want to continue because let's talk about a story that was shared by AP News also this week, talking about the record-breaking travel numbers that the TSA officers reported. They screened over 3 million travelers on Sunday alone, November 27th, just last week. Over 3.09 million people were screened, which set a brand new record for the most passengers on a single day. Now, since that was just that last week, we can only assume that volume is not going to be increasing. Well, it'll be interesting to see what will happen, of course, at the end of December and even up to the first week of January if we exceed that number or it comes pretty close. But flight delays and cancellations were still a thing. Now, about 120 flights were canceled, which you might think sounds like a big number, but the story says that only 120 flights were canceled. So maybe that's a good thing. But over 6,800 delays occurred. The largest disruptions occurred in Atlanta's, Georgia Atlanta's airport and Chicago O'Hare Airport. So that sort of doesn't surprise me. Georgia's airport, obviously, Atlanta being the busiest airport in the United States, if you didn't know already. Chicago and is also a really popular hub for a lot of major airlines. I'm not totally surprised there, but I will say I was expecting maybe more out of LAX or on East Coast in JFK or LaGuardia, but no. So yeah, so I guess those two airports definitely felt the pressure. So if you're looking to book new flights, maybe something to consider. But yes, there were definitely some issues also at Dallas Fort Worth Airlines. See a comment come in talking about that. And yeah, so their TSA is predicting, of course, an increase in Thanksgiving travel compared to last year, but not to this level. I think they were also very surprised by this record level of travel. And speaking of which, I want to talk to you about a story that I thought was really cool that came out. This came out from CNBC. I want to share Jaguars brand new all electric Type 00 concept car. This is so cool. I want to know what you think about this. I see Joshua joining us. Thank you so much, Joshua, for joining us. CrossX Fighter on YouTube Live. Look at this. Let me know what you think about this. This new Type 00 concept car features a boxy minimalist design. Van Jaguar is showing really nice lights and large wheels. It's actually really sleek, and it's kind of goes away from their sort of that traditional look that Jaguar comes into. And you know what I mean. If you've seen a Jaguar previously on the street, Jaguar has a very specific look. I remember my old manager when I was working at Smith Barney. He was a Jaguar guy. Like he would drive his Jaguar for a really, really long time, and then when he was done with it, he got a brand new Jaguar. But I always think, that's an interesting car. I don't think it was my cup of tea, but this thing looks pretty cool. This is like a cool thing. And I gotta say, I love the pink. I don't know if it'll come in pink, but I mean that'd be fun to see on the road. We've seen a lot of Cybertrucks all in one color. Why not a pink Jaguar? That could be fun. But this Type 00 is just giving us a taste of Jaguar's sort of upcoming four-door GT EV electric vehicle that's projected for next year. They said that this new vehicle will probably have about a 430-mile range on the battery, and that they'll be able to offer rapid charging that's going to be able to provide 200 miles, and get this, just 15 minutes. Now, for those of you who have to charge your electric vehicle like I do, if you're able to charge 200 miles in 15 minutes, that's amazing. because I can't tell you how many times I've sat at a Tesla charging station for like an hour to charge under 200 miles. So this would be great. But of course, people are either like it or don't like it. There's also a lot of people online that just say they hate this. They say this is like they're just saying Jaguars copy nothing rebranding. Although it went viral, they just say that they don't like it. They really liked that Jaguar had a sort of iconic logo and that it was just too bland. But you know what? The only person that really matters is you. So you let me know what you think about it. You like it? You hate it? Do you think it's something that you can consider if you were changing vehicles, or is it a hard pass for you? You know, I see Joshua say it looks cool, but the handles are missing. Yeah, that's so true. You know, that's one of the things that is absolutely true. Like when we drive these newer vehicles nowadays, like you're very dependent on the key fob, right, or your app, because it's not that easy to open the car door. Like, even on my Tesla, you gotta like push it. It's not as easy as just double clicking the key fob. So maybe that's the thing. All right, so let's continue on. I want to talk about something that I think is pretty cool, and this is being shared on Forbes. Forbes just announced their 30 under 30 sports 2025 list. Now, this is pretty cool. It's talking about the rising stars in the world of athletics, and it includes athletes from all these different sports and different fields, from NBA stars to Olympic champions, and from the Boston Celtics to the women's soccer team to all these different like pole vaulters. And so this is pretty cool. So this is highlighting sort of inclusion and diversity. And this year's class does include 22 women and 16 people of color. And just talking about what they've done, the successes they're having, how they're breaking barriers, and just making an impact, not only in sports, but also being role models for other young people. So if you haven't seen it yet, I think this is pretty cool. And I know the information is available online, but it's nice to see that just what is possible. And most importantly, it's exciting to celebrate these young athletes, and really some of the interviews are interesting too, because it talks about how they're building their brand and how they're leveraging their success and what that looks like for them financially for the future as well. Now, speaking of things all financial, I don't know if you saw this, but this was sort of a big one, talking about Elon Musk's $56 billion pay plan. And so this is reported on CNBC. It was a landmark ruling, believe it or not, against Elon Musk's pay plan. So a Delaware judge once again upheld a ruling which voids Elon's record $56 billion 2018 Tesla pay package. Whoa. Now, citing, of course, flawed approval processes, saying that was not an okay. The lawsuit actually was brought on by Tesla shareholders, which said that, Elon heavily influenced board decisions and undermined fair negotiations. This is what the court is saying, fair negotiations. So therefore, it was a no-no. But the Tesla, of course, they were trying to appeal this and it failed. Tesla's attempt to validate the pay plan via a June shareholder vote was actually largely dismissed by the court, which they said that it doesn't really matter, that these actions can't rewrite prior rulings. And so the judge is now warning on legal tactics, saying that, and really emphasizing that if any sort of revising of judgments it's probably not going to happen. So just let it be. But the plaintiff's legal team received $345 million in attorney fees for their role in overturning the compensation plan. And then following the January ruling, Elon shifted Tesla's state of incorporation from Delaware to Texas, not happy there, and reflecting on his ongoing criticism of Delaware and what they did in the courts and all that stuff. So not happy, moved from Delaware. I know moved a lot of it from California too. So now I guess he's happy in Texas. So that's what's happening. And unfortunately, that is a lot of money. So hopefully he gets some compensation still for his contribution in 2018. And we'll, of course, report back if we hear what that number ends up being. But at least it looks like right now in 2018, that's kind of in limbo. Yeah, we don't know what's happening there. And speaking of Elon, let's also share a comment from my good friend Ian is joining us on X, formerly Twitter, talking about respect the huge talent and capabilities of these sports stars. I talking about the Forbes article, speaking of that previous story we did, and of course Ian is talking about Elon and what do you think about Blue Sky? Okay, so Ian, great question. And for those of you who are regulars to the show, we talked about Blue Sky just last week or the week prior. And yes, big fan of Blue Sky. Lots of really friendly people on Blue Sky. And it's really interesting because so many people have exited X and transferred right on over to Blue Sky. Now, I will say this as someone who is on both platforms, certainly my bigger audience is on X. And so a lot of my activity still resides there. But I love what Blue Sky is doing, and I really like the temperature there. People are really friendly. It looks like a lot of activity, and I would say a lot of people that I feel I trust and love their content. They are very active on Blue Sky, so it is something that I think I'll be investing more time in. And it's unfortunate that so many people have left X because I do think there's still a lot of value here, because we are streaming here live as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I would say this cautiously optimistic, but it's sort of a story of a wait to see if it gets better, it stays the same, what's going to happen. Speaking of change, let's also talk about a story that came out of Yahoo Finance. Now, I think this is a pretty cool story, and I want to make sure that this is on your radar. We've talked about companies such like these mega big companies, like the Googles of the world, right? But let's also talk about Amazon. Did you know that Amazon has launched their Tranium 2 chips? Yeah, they're actually making chips as well. And they're integrating these into new data centers. And this, of course, is a rival to NVIDIA's dominance in the AI chip market. Now, Amazon is, a bookstore and then now a shopping mall where you can buy all sorts of things, and even places where you can get groceries and even like healthcare, like through their One Medical. Like there's so many things that Amazon has their hands on, and now they have now launched into chips, into supercomputing, and they're doing a supercomputing partnership with Anthropic. So Amazon's massive supercomputer leverages hundreds of thousands of these Tranium 2 chips, which is going to show up with AI startup Anthropic as its first user. Now, get this though, and it's not just a startup because Amazon also has just signed on Apple to join as a customer. So Apple announced that it's going to be using these Tranium 2 chips, marking really their big high profile endorsement of this new AWS technology. So that's kind of cool. So it's interesting to see with more competition, right? More people going all in on these, more companies going all in on these chips. It'll just see next generation technology and artificial intelligence just move that much more quickly. So did you hear about that? I'm curious to see what your thoughts on this are. Do you feel like these companies are too big, or do you think, well, it's because they're big and they have the cash resources that they can invest in new technology and really push the envelope and move quickly on the second industrial revolution of AI technology? I want to hear your thoughts on this, because we can always see a positive, negative on, I think, on just about anything. But in your mind, is one better than the other? Of course, we'd love to see technology come from startups or smaller organizations. But the hard truth is that many small companies fail because starting something new from the bottom up is not easy. And it oftentimes takes money to bankroll good engineers, good employees, right? And to be able to invest in this technology and to do research and development. And let's be honest, making mistakes and failing is part of the process, but making mistakes and failing can also be quite costly. So companies who have the cash and resources and connections can sometimes help move the needle a little bit more quickly. So Your thoughts, put them in comments. We want to hear from you. And we did see Ian also is sharing that Amazon has made a big contribution to Anthropic. So there we go as well. Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing that. Speaking of which, let's go on to the next story because this one is coming from the Harvard Business Review. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, so you've probably been hearing about this buy now, pay later, and of course we always talked about millennials like just a couple of years ago, but now everybody is talking about, well, Gen Z as well. But this whole buy now, pay later is really transforming how consumers are spending and shopping and buying things. So you know how this works. There are companies such as like Afterpay or Klarna. Now, you may not have used it, but you've definitely probably seen it as an option when you check out from some of these companies. Well, they have said that these sort of buy now, pay later platforms increases purchases of your purchase of likelihood of 17 to 26%. So if you weren't thinking about purchasing it now, there's now a definitive number that you probably will. And they noticed that shopping carts or basket sizes that now they're 10% larger because of this buy now pay later thing, which affects, they're saying that people take up to 6 months to see all this activity. But the question is it a good thing or a bad thing? Now, of course, being the financial person that I am and your friendly financial friend here, I would say absolutely it's a terrible thing. If you can, in most cases, don't buy something unless you have the cash to pay for it. That should be your golden financial rule. Like there is no if that don't give me a reason, just don't do it. Now, you might say, well, there's an emergency, a family emergency, that's up for discussion. However, I would say 99% of 99% of the times you should not be spending if you don't have the money in the bank. And I do mean a new car purchase as well. And I know people aren't going to disagree with me on that, but let me just tell you, like, saving and building wealth is not an easy thing. It is not an easy sport to get into. If you want to do it, you got to sometimes swallow those hard pills. And that's just the reality of it. Okay. So, speaking of this, so consumers now are relying on credit cards more and more. And even with smaller purchases growing at 14%, now that there's this buy now, pay later compared to 3% from the past. But they're saying there's a big psychological impact to this as well, because now people feel like they can make payments and installments, which makes people feel more secure in their purchasing decision, that they feel like it's more manageable and the purchase is more trivial, which also reduces the consumer's perceived financial constraints and unfortunately does also encourage higher spending as well. Now, for some, they see this as a win-win. Retailers feel like they're boosted by revenues, as buy now, pay later also prompts consumers to make purchases they might otherwise skip. And of course, then they have more time to pay them. But of course, there are a lot of risks because the financial vulnerable consumers who really maybe are living paycheck to paycheck or have had credit card debt overhanging them, they are unfortunately more likely to overextend themselves, raising concerns, of course, about debt and repayment issues. And so it's just a big thing. But I will just say I want to share that data with you because I think it's eye-opening, and I do think a lot of young people today are using these sort of different ways to pay, and something that we should put on our radar and try to reduce if we can. Yeah, and I see Gail joining us on LinkedIn. Gail, I'm curious to see how you feel about that. This is something I feel quite strongly about. I do think that in most cases, unless you have the money in the bank, don't buy it. Doesn't mean that you can't use credit cards. No. If you've been with me on the show, you know that I'm a big fan of credit card rewards and points and miles and things like that. But I am not a fan of any sort of credit card debt. So for me, that's a hard no. All right. Speaking of hard no, this is something that you'll definitely want to hear about too, because remember we were talking about tomatoes just a couple weeks ago. Now, sun-fed cucumbers, salmonella outbreak. This is something you definitely want to pay attention to. Being shared by USA Today. There's a cucumber recall across the United States and Canada. This was produce that was sold between the dates of October 12th and November 26th, which is just last week. And the reason why I want to make sure that this was on your radar is because it affects so many places that you and I may be shopping at, including Walmart, Costco. Yes, I know a lot of you buy your cucumbers at Costco, Wegmans, Albertsons. We're talking about cucumbers that were distributed in 26 different United States here and several Canadian provinces, including Ontario, Alberta, British Columbia as well. Now, the CDC has reported 68 cases across 19 different states, including, and they've been having some terrible symptoms, including diarrhea, fever, stomach cramps. Now, most cases have been resolved without medical attention, but their severe interactions and infections can definitely occur. So, if you find yourself with a sun-fed cucumbers in your refrigerator, these are some of the things that you want to do. Okay, so in Walmart, these recall cucumbers in 14 states, including California, Texas, Utah, many other states. In Costco, the item number is 171067. Okay, so you can take a look if your cucumbers are that. If that's the case, if you have these, of course, the best idea is to throw them away. And you can also contact Sunfed's hotline at 888-542 5849 to talk about questions and refunds and all that stuff. But you definitely want to pay attention to this. And I don't know, it just feels like with all these E. coli and this and that, I just feel like right now, vegetables seem like more risky than they normally were. So I'm just being really careful about how I wash my produce and be a little bit more careful about how I'm handling our produce as well, right? But yes, so that's what's happening with cucumbers. Want to make sure you knew that. And speaking of other things I wanted to put on your radar, this comes from NPR talking about porch pirates this holiday season. Okay. So porch piracy, if you don't know what that is, that's where, maybe Amazon drops off a box at your front door and then you don't pick it up right away. And then someone steals the package. Now you've seen these videos on social media, I'm sure, because now a lot of us have these like Ring doorbells or video cameras. But yes, so there, I even saw one not too long ago where one of like the UPS driver or somebody was coming by to drop off, I think it looked like an Apple iPhone delivery, and like someone just came by and stole it out of the delivery person's hand. It was crazy. But now, if things are delivered onto your porch, that's called porch piracy, and it is certainly on the rise. Now, in 2023, over 120 million packages were stolen from here in the United States. Mostly electronics and even brand name items are being targeted. But of course, some of the discreet packaging does help. But nowadays, people just are trying to get things as quickly as possible. So, for example, Amazon offers now a plain box option for selected items. But it's most important to be mindful of how you can sort of avoid some of these things. The best thing to do is, of course, to schedule deliveries for times that you'll actually be home. Now, easier said than done, right? Like most busy families, you're in and out, you're not always at home. But also, if you can put specific drop off instructions. Now, I don't know if you know this, but for those of you who shop places such as Amazon, if you go to the delivery address, you can actually add instructions of where the package should be. So you could tell them, like, drop it off, at my side gate, or drop it off in the backyard. There's things that you could do to try to avoid porch privacy. The other thing you can do is consider shipping to alternative locations, like maybe your work, or a parcel locker is also good. Different stores, and of course, with that, you might want to consider, if you don't already, having a doorbell camera or motion activated lights, just to deter thieves if you're getting packages at night, and make sure that your security cameras can record these incidents so you can help identify these unscrupulous individuals. But of course, you also want to consider options such as, bags or garage deliveries. Like, just really think about other ways that you can do this. And in fact, some companies I've even seen have these like storage boxes that have locks on them. So you can give the code to your delivery person. They can open up the box, stick your package in, lock the box, and then you could come pick up that secured delivery at a different time, you know? So I see Joshua saying, looks like porch pirates are stealing treasure. You know, I like that. That was really funny and really clever. But yes, it's certainly a treasure and it's certainly a pain, right? To have to go to customer service and let them know that someone just stole your delivery. And I would just say this, I'm going to add this. This isn't something being stolen, but during the holidays, everybody is moving so quickly. Definitely check your deliveries. Make sure that you get what you ordered. Make sure to count. If you order two things, make sure you get two things. If, you know, make sure you're actually receiving the things that you order. I know sometimes, especially with the holidays, you're buying a lot of gifts, you're doing all the things, and time can fly by. But take pause and make sure to do that so you don't lose money. No, that's what's most important. Thank you so much for being a part of today's level up. Let's take a look at what the market is. Currently, Dow's up 336 points and the Nasdaq's up 251. S&P 500 is also up 37 points. Currently about less than 15 minutes left to go before the market ends today. Looks like we'll probably end up in positive territory, so that's a good thing. But thank you so much for being a part of today's Level Up Live. And of course, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe to stay in the know with all the latest insights. And then, of course, you can catch full episodes, past episodes of Level Up Live. On NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other platforms. And when sharing an episode online, thank you so much for tagging at Winnie Sun so I can see and I can give you a future shout out on a future show. Thank you so much, Joshua, for all your support. And of course, for a deeper dive, you can check out Yes Factor, the podcast with Winnie Sun, myself, on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. With that, I'll see you again very soon. Take care, be well, and I'll see you later. Bye bye now.